welcome to Garbage Theater. Tonight's installment, Frankenhooker. I'm your host Chase with my co-hosts Blake and John.
Hello.
Hey.
Delayed reaction there.
For some reason, I was like trying to think of something funny to say, but I couldn't come up with anything.
Oh man. Well, I've got all kinds of mixed emotions right now.
Yeah.
Just to clue the audience in on what. Okay, we all three of us watched this movie last night, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, which is not when you're listening to this, but that's neither here nor there. We watched it the night before we were recording this, and as soon as I pulled it up on the YouTubes, I was instantly enraged. Because I saw that the copy that we have to watch only has Spanish subtitles. And this is exactly why we don't watch shit on YouTube.
I was, okay. So when I started making sure that the whole movie was there, I had clicked on one of the other files and I just thought that the movie looked shitty.
Yeah.
So, but then whenever I started looking last night, I was like, this thing, something ain't right. Sorry.
Jesus.
And so I went to the Spanish subtitles and it was a clear picture and everything. And then when the Spanish subtitles up, I was so happy because I knew Chase would be angry. The subtitles are there, they're just useless to him.
That doesn't affect, you two assholes.
No, not in the least.
But it makes my job incredibly more difficult. And I know the other, because I went scouring and said, there's got to be another copy of this thing. And I went scouring, and I found the one that you're talking about. And it's the one that they've slipped it on YouTube to get past all the filters where it's slightly magnified and mirrored.
Yeah. And sped up just a tiny bit.
A tiny bit, yeah. Just by a half, just enough to make it weird. So, and
what they call in the oil industry by a cunt hair.
They also had that version where it's like a CG living room with a TV on the wall, and it plays on the TV on the wall.
I love those.
Real small.
Yeah, I was like, should I watch this one instead? So, needless to say, I was furious going into it, but count your blessings that this movie was hilarious.
I wasn't expecting it to be so funny.
It was, and it was of a higher. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was bad, but
terrible movie.
It was of a higher quality than I was expecting it to be. This was on par with.
They talked about how the humor fell flat, and after the movie, I was like, "Who are these assholes?"
There's one part, and we'll get to it, where I legitimately was laughing like that was good.
I hope it's the same thing.
We'll see if we get to it. But I mean, it was not good. It was gratuitous in every way. But we've watched so much worse.
Oh yeah.
I kind of want to push back. I think it was good. I think it's just a good comedy. I have a couple of little minor issues, but
I mean, I can't really attack it too hard. I mean, and I've got things in my notes making fun of things, but I mean, I'm sure it was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's kind of the issue with doing comedies on our show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everything was intentional.
Yeah. But to me, halfway through it, I was thinking the same way. Okay, it's funny, it's supposed to be funny and all that. But then I just realized I snapped myself out and I was like, no, but this is still a really stupid movie.
And it is. I mean,
sure.
I'm not going to go.
It's in bad taste for sure. Yeah. All that stuff, but I thought it was well executed. It worked. Did we all watch this with our wives? Because I did.
No.
Are you kidding me?
No. You motherfucker.
No.
What
she was at work.
What the sweet shit?
She was at work.
You're supposed to watch it on your anniversary.
Yeah, I'm going to watch this on my anniversary, John.
Oh,
John, you stupid, silly man.
We was out playing virtual reality at a bar that night. We ain't staying home watching this shit.
Oh, man.
And my wife, Heather, had the sense that me and you should have had, John. Because we were sitting there, we were a good halfway through this thing. And she looks over at me and goes, so Blake and Becca, I'm to believe, are sitting at home on their 25th anniversary, having a romantic evening, watching this movie?
Nope.
I'm not too mad because I like the movie so much.
Yeah, if this had turned out to be some of the weaker fare we've watched, this, yeah. See, this, if this had turned out to be another go with LaFleur, we can't let him have another one of these kind of wins. So thank God.
Like
I'll never.
Thank God this movie was good or anything.
Thank God it was funny.
Yeah.
I didn't fuck y'all over. I watched the movie too.
You were supposed to get it this week.
Yeah, but you definitely spun a story, though. I mean, I'm never believing you again for anything.
Everything I said is true.
Lessons the hard way.
Everything I said was true. We just didn't watch the movie together.
God damn it.
Which is a damn shame.
Did you watch it with Claire, John?
I didn't. I have a little anecdote.
I'm the
actually
only
about
person that stuck to the goddamn plan with this thing.
No, there was no plan.
Yeah, what plan do you speak of?
You were the one that said should we all watch this with our wives so that, they...
Who said that?
John said that.
I don't think that happened.
Go back and listen to whatever the fuck we watched last time.
I don't listen to this show.
I don't think an agreement was reached. I mean, I may have said something. But
George is getting upset.
I was about to say that.
George is...
We had a pact.
God damn it. Oh God.
But today I was out with the family. The kids were off playing on something. And I was telling Claire, I was like, so that movie Frankenhooker was actually pretty good. And I started to describe a scene, and the kids interrupted us or something, and then once they left, Claire was like, what was that awful crap you were telling me about?
All right.
I don't think she would have gotten as much out of it as I did.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well...
Yeah.
Now that we got the big twist of the episode out of the way.
Twist?
You're right. It's not a twist. It's to be expected at this point.
I didn't do anything wrong here.
Blake lied. What do you know? God. Blake lied. Chase's soul died.
All right. So, trudging forward.
So there's a couple things that I want to mention before we get started. Okay. We all watched this on Mary Shelley's birthday.
Yep.
Yes.
So that was just fun.
That's something.
That's tragic.
By accident, but pretty cool.
Tragically serendipitous.
And then before we get into making fun of this film, I found this quote by the director, Frank Henenlotter. Mm-hmm. He goes, "I hate the golden turkey mentality. Utterly and completely repulsive. It doesn't take a brain to sit around and make fun of a film. I don't appreciate Mystery Science Theater 3000 either. I can make my own jokes."
So do we end now?
He doesn't appreciate what we're doing. No.
Is this guy still alive?
Yeah, I think he is.
An email will be written.
I mean, luckily, I don't think we're going to be... I don't have much to make fun of, really. I mean, I'm going to be playing along.
More just going along for the ride, I think.
I don't think we can shit on the movies like we usually do. But like I said, it's still a pretty preposterous movie.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It's well aware of its own preposterousness.
All right, so without further ado, here we go. Frankenhooker. The one-man show starring one of our favorite characters that I never thought we'd see again. That was so surprising. Like,
where did we see him before?
He was the zinging one-liner guy from Street Trash.
The doorman.
Okay, because the whole time I'm like, where did I see this dude before?
Yeah. As soon as he started talking, I was like, wait a second, is that Nick the Dick is running down your leg? And he's like, that's him.
Okay, I didn't like the whole time I was like, I've seen this guy somewhere before. Now, okay. All right, now I'm happy.
Yeah. So we watched Street Trash and like, oh man, we need more of this guy. Well, we got a shitload more of this guy.
It's basically a sequel to Street Trash. It's what happened to him after.
It kind of is.
So
I mean, I can totally imagine somebody seeing like his performance, because Street Trash was his first film.
Yeah.
I can totally see someone seeing that and being like, yo, give this guy a movie.
Yeah,
well, I think we all said that was like our favorite part of the thing. Was that dude.
I loved him.
Make this guy a leading man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we open up to him, Jeffrey, and he's working on this contraption that he's got. It's this little laboratory with a jar with a brain in it with an eyeball jammed into it, and he's trying to get it to wake up, and it's hooked up to this closed circuit TV, and he jams a scalpel into it and taps it with a hammer to get it to wake up, and it's looking around, and then we pull back to see that he's just in some suburban kitchen. And it's his in-laws, his future in-laws' house.
Yeah.
And
he's at his old lady's mom's house messing with a brain on her kitchen table.
Yeah.
She honestly doesn't care.
No one cares. She comes in, she asks him to pass the ketchup, so he reaches through all his Bunsen burners and whatnot and gets it. She grabs a jug of Pepsi, heads outside where there's a birthday party / carnival / barbecue going on. And she tells her daughter, his fiance, to go check on him because, he's at it again, just being weird in the kitchen. He's so odd.
She says we can't get too weird tonight. And I'm like, homeboy's got a brain with an eye jammed in it on the dining room table. Like, what's too weird for you?
So,
I consider myself a fairly resourceful person, but like, I could not get a brain.
Yeah.
Where does this man get a brain from?
He's going to get a whole lot more later in the movie. So, the girl, Elizabeth, is talking to one of her friends about how she needs to go on a diet, and they've got her in this big oversized like jumpsuit that they've clearly stuffed to make her look like she's different proportions than what she's gonna wind up being when she's the Frankenhooker.
Right.
And
because all of a sudden she's supposed to be hot when she's this.
Yeah. And she's talking about how she's tried diets, she's tried all this stuff and nothing works. She even had her fiance Jeffrey staple her stomach for her just in his spare time. So.
And her friend is like the only person in this entire world that thinks any of this is weird.
Yeah. But then the way she talks just throws all that, like, she's not smart anymore. Yeah. Is he even a doctor?
They're all from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a Jersey-centric movie. Inside, the brain contraption goes on the fritz. And his fiance comes in and tells him to take a break and come outside because mom needs the kitchen because she needs the brain table to make her coleslaw.
Can I borrow your brain table?
So they all go outside, and there's Elizabeth's showing her dad that Jeffrey made this remote control lawnmower for him, right out of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And she's showing it off. She turns it on, and it powers up. And he's just kind of sitting there watching, and then it starts to creep forward. And Jeffrey jumps up and screams, "Get out of the way! Get out!" But it's too late. She gets mulched, and her blood just splatters all over the lawn gnomes.
And this is of the minor complaints that I actually have about this movie is like this is one of them. I kind of wanted this lawnmower accident to be a bit crazier.
Yeah,
it's a bit disappointing, you know.
Well, the opening of the lawnmower was like the size of a toaster.
Yeah.
So you'd think this would be a slower, more elaborate process than her just getting sucked into the thing like Mac and me. But you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it was just some blood splashed on a lawn gnome, and you know,
had to cut a little corner there at the top.
That scene where a guy got his foot run over by a lawnmower in Mad Men was crazier than that.
That was a great episode of Mad Men.
Yes, it was.
Flash forward. We get the title card and the opening credits, and Jeffrey is scribbling all over an anatomical drawing, and it's all absolute nonsense. It's just little. It's Wolverine blueprint lines, just all over everything. And he's mumbling to himself about, you know, I gotta get that mole. I gotta get rid of that mole. That mole's there. I gotta get rid of that mole.
He's got a bunch of funny like little lines in there.
Yeah, there is a good bit.
They just let him just go. They just put the camera on him and said go.
He's like, I need a 3-pronged here. Like what? It's all electrical stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's like, let's get those varicose veins out of here.
Yeah.
He says E equals MC squared at one point. Like what?
Oh,
science
man.
stuff. So it backs out into
one thing that was funny real quick is so the title popped up, and of course we were watching this with Spanish subtitles. So it pops up at the bottom saying Frankenhooker, which I thought was really funny. It's like I don't speak fluent Spanish or anything, but like I certainly learned the swear words.
Yes.
And I was sitting there chuckling at Frankenbitch like I was back in high school.
So
I did find out that puta also means whore in Spanish, but
well, it's not Frankenhooker. She's a professional. It's hooker. So it backs out, and the drawing that he's scribbling all over looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger with tits.
Yeah.
It's very large.
It's huge. And he's put his fiance's head, a photo of her head, on the head of the drawing. And the head is hilariously small, like a Goomba head.
He can't stop putting her head on everything. He's pasted a photo of her head onto like everything else in his room.
Yeah, we pointed at while we were watching it. We were like, every photo that he has of his fiance, she's got her eyes closed and her mouth hanging open. So is this just all recent pictures of the severed head? There's not a picture of her normal anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, that was bad. He doesn't want pictures of her when she was fat.
He's definitely using this as like an opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't just want her back. He's like, you know, you can shave a few pounds off of here. But does he have a dark room, or did he go down to like Walgreens and get his like severed head photos to film?
So behind him, he's still got his brain pet floating around in the fish tank. He cracks open a copy of Grey's Anatomy to find it's hollowed out with a VHS tape in there labeled Elizabeth. And he pops it in the VCR and he plays it. And he watches the news report of Elizabeth's death with the most professional news people I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, that's pretty funny.
There's some
I would watch the news every night if it was like this.
There's some old cop and he's counting the chunks in the yard, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he pushes his hat up with his thumb and he scratches his head like, oh geez, there's a lot of chunks around. And he starts over. So they were reporting about the tragic incident and that there's pieces of her missing still. And so they go to Jeffrey's house where they try to get a statement from him and they harass him, and he just about where her head is. He says, I don't know, the last time I saw it, it was flying through the air at me. Why don't you people leave me alone, huh? And then they slam the door, and the reporter's face is like, well, I guess that's it. And we'll leave that in there.
There's a part where the reporter is like running the whole scene down. I loved it so much. He calls her girthful and said that the power mower rained her personality down on the horrified birthday revelers.
God.
And then she has like a metaphor about her being a tossed human salad that was once named Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
So Jeffrey cuts the tape off, and his mom comes into his room. She tells him that, you're watching that tape again. You shouldn't watch that. It's just going to upset you. And, that cute girl at the supermarket's been asking about you. But, he's not interested in moving on. And his mom gets on about going back to medical school and doing something and moving on. And why is everyone so cool with this brain? His mom sees the brain and takes you, oh, you're looking very good, and just goes about her business.
It's all normal.
So he says that,
you should see the shit he's got in the basement.
Yeah. He says that, he's not feeling himself lately, and he feels like he's removing himself further and further from reality and becoming dangerously immoral. He doesn't know the difference between right and wrong anymore. To which she goes, you want a sandwich? Genuinely funny.
This made me laugh so hard.
What I thought was interesting was, he's going through how he's disassociated with society and he doesn't know if he knows right from wrong anymore. The fact that he knows all those things means that he's not really,
he's
really
aware.
Feeling that way. Because if you're aware enough to say, I don't know right from wrong anymore, then you still know what's right and wrong.
You're still differentiating right and wrong.
Yeah.
But
it's a cry for help, I'm guessing. Yeah. I don't know.
To which she offers a sandwich in return.
You know what? You're right, because nobody's paying attention to the other cries for help, i.e., the brain in the room.
And the fact that he watches like gory footage of his girlfriend's death every day.
Yeah, exactly.
So she tells him goodnight and leaves. He sneaks out to the shed, and this I read was intentional. The shed looks like it's about the size of a dinner table. And when he walks into it, it's like a Midwestern bakery inside.
Yeah.
Just endlessly huge. So
yeah. I heard that was intentional too.
There's a whole laboratory. There's a friggin' jet turbine on the wall. All kinds of nonsense. He opens up a freezer, and there's some bubbling purple liquid inside, and he reaches in and pulls out Elizabeth's severed head. And he puts her head and several other various body parts, a hand, a foot, whatnot, he sets up a nice little dinner for them in his room where he's got wine and candles.
Well, I got a kick out of that because he asked her if she wanted to have Italian.
Yeah.
And it's just pizza.
Yeah. So he pours some wine down.
Why did the foot have to come to dinner? That's like the thing.
He's going to invite the whole part that he has, the whole thing.
Yeah,
it would be rude to leave the foot behind.
Your whole self is welcome.
So he pours wine down the head's gullet, and he tells her that there's a storm coming, and that when it gets here, he's going to make her a brand new person. And then he goes through his very detailed mock-ups of what she could be. It's just multicolored construction paper with her head taped on top of a cutout of a Playboy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And it's the same close-eyed, slack-jawed head just on top of these naked women bodies.
But I like how he described them, because he's like, oh yeah, like the crawling cat. Can you imagine being on Ma's basement looking like this? Where is this guy? That's what we need to find out.
So
I think he's still working.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You goddamn right he is.
He's fantastic. He reads a poem that he wrote about him exploding with love, and it's as good as that song from Street Trash. It sounds like it's made up on the spot, yet it's hilarious. He returns the parts to the freezer and stuffs the poem in her severed hand and then dumps that in there too because he wants her to have it.
Yeah.
Tells her goodnight and shuts the lid. So he goes back to the blueprints and he's still talking to himself about how, I get someone's gonna have to die for her to live. There's no other way. And he turns on the weather that's being hosted by the Phantom of the Opera. And he screams into the camera that there's going to be 2 days until the storm's going to hit. And so if there's any mad scientists out there, they better be ready. And starts cackling like an insane person. The weatherman.
So I loved this guy, and I was like, man, like I wish the weather was always presented in this fashion.
Yeah. I also want a universal monster giving me updates about the local weather.
So I looked this guy up. His name is John Zachary. Mm-hmm. He's nicknamed the Cool Ghoul. He's a pretty interesting guy. He was like the first well-known TV horror host.
Okay.
He hosted Shock Theater in 1957.
I got pangs of he was probably something like that.
Yeah,
like a Joe Bob Briggs or
he's no Morgus the Magnificent.
Morgus the Magnificent. Yeah,
none of them would exist if not for this dude.
No,
I mean they probably would, but like he set a standard. He set the standard. He was one of the OGs.
Morgus the Magnificent and Chopsley.
Yeah, you know who that is, John?
I've heard of Morgus the Magnificent.
Yeah,
I mean Cleveland's all about Ghoulardi. Yeah, everybody's got their favorites.
He's no Morgus the Magnificent.
I heard that one time Ghoulardi came to New Orleans and Morgus the Magnificent bitch slapped him.
It's a true story. It's a very detailed true story.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
And then he called up the Cool Ghoul and he was like, I ain't stepping foot down there.
That's exactly how Morgus the Magnificent sounds.
Shit.
So he says in 2 days, the storm's coming. So Jeffrey realizes he's got to get this plan going before the storm gets there. So he takes out a power drill and he pours out his bowling bag, which is full of drill bits, and he finds the right one. And he goes over to this little mock-up brain that he has all these numbered pins in. It's like, number 3, 13, no, not 13, how about 22, man. And so he finally lands on a number that he wants and takes the drill and just drills it into his head like you do. And it tickles his brain into working overtime.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And this is what gets him to come up with a plan that, I gotta go get some hookers. That's the perfect plan.
Just need a little drill for your brain and everything comes together.
So he drives out to the city with his Golden Girls glasses on. He pulls up to a corner where the market is absolutely saturated with sex workers. There's at least 100 on this corner.
Yeah, this is like the perfect depiction of like old Times Square.
So one comes up to him and whips her tits out, and he pulls out a wad of cash, and she desperately tries to claw her way into the car like a lunatic.
I laughed just at the way he hurry up and locked the door before she could get in on the other side. For some reason, I found that funny. Because she's like squealing, running around the car because she sees the money, and he hurry up and locks the door. And he's like, "I'm not ready. I'm not ready."
She reacts.
She was really excited that he wasn't a mushroom.
So he tells her that I'm going to need more than just one girl. So she whistles, and another girl comes over, and he explains to them that he's throwing a party for his sick brother, and he needs about 6 or 7 girls. So they say, well, we need to go check with Zorro first before we set all this up. Zorro's the local pimp. So
he quickly became one of my favorite characters, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
Zorro?
Yes. Just because of his use of the word bitches. Like, the guy couldn't act.
Yeah.
But, he's like banging on the door and he's like, those are my bitches.
Those are my bitches. So, into this strip club, bar, whatever it is, where the hookers lead Jeffrey in. They force their way into the bathroom, where Zorro's in there. There's 1,000 people in this bathroom, and
just banging and smoking crack.
It's a more disgusting Tatooine cantina. So, a
hive of scum and villainy and crack cocaine.
So, Zorro is dealing drugs and something when one of the hookers goes up to him and explains to him the deal, and Jeffrey notices that all the girls are branded on the arm with a Z. For Zorro,
now I get it.
Yeah. They negotiate a price, and Jeffrey asks if he could get one of those bags of drugs. So,
can I get one of those bags of drugs? He goes, you mean this bag of drugs?
It is an enormous bag of drugs.
I just like how all this madness is going on in this bathroom. Like, there's people screwing in a stall. There's people doing all these drugs. And Zorro's just standing there in the middle with his arms crossed.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's waiting, like when people come and request things from the king, that's what's happening, but just madness going on around it.
Yeah, he's like a retail manager, just like walking the floor. He's just making money.
He's like Don.
Everywhere he looks, he's making money.
He's like Don Corleone on his daughter's wedding day.
Yeah. He's like Balcaz, but with a little more organization and one less Gila monster.
Well, the lizard was there, just occupied.
So, later, we go back to Jeffrey's house, where he's watching the show Motormouth, where this Geraldo Rivera character is talking to some woman about legalizing prostitution, and Jeffrey's on board.
Yeah, and look, I was immediately on board too. Whenever he's like, "Oh, do you want to make prostitution legal?" And the woman was like, "Yeah." And people start laughing on it. He goes, "Don't laugh. She's right." And I'm like, "You goddamn right, she's right." Want to solve the problem? You legalize it.
Yep.
Boom. But I'm not going to go into that libertarian rant right now.
You sure? I got your new theme song ready to go.
Nope.
Okay.
That's all I got for it. Just that she was right.
Yeah. So it's revealed that Jeffrey gone and went and invented super crack. And it's just really big crack. It's like the size of softball crack rocks.
Well, if we wouldn't have saw that Frank Stallone movie, I wouldn't have laughed when he said super crack.
Yeah.
But when he said it, I laughed just because of that.
I laughed because of the lead up, because he was talking about how crack's out there killing the ladies, and somebody should do something. And he's like,
"This super crack ought to do the job.
This super crack will kill them real good."
But they're gonna die faster and painlessly from the super crack.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's his whole plan: is that the super crack's gonna kill him faster and painlessly. He then hallucinates.
I don't know about painlessly, but
yeah. He hallucinates seeing Elizabeth on the TV because they're going through the street showing like the reality of prostitution, and I think it's Zorro who's like,
it is.
He's like gently shaking this prostitute, going, "Where's my money, you bitch? You bitch, where's my money? Where's the money, you bitch?"
Like I said, I just got totally endeared to this character.
He's not even shaking her that hard. It's just good.
No, everything was flat coming from him.
Yeah.
They hired him because he's basically like Freddie Mercury on steroids is what this dude looks like.
Pretty much.
and but everything
he's massive.
Everything's just delivered so flat, and everything is bitch, and just for some reason that just got me. Give me the money, bitch.
And he's got a bit of an accent too, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he hallucinates that the woman that he's shaking is Elizabeth, and he gets all mad, and he goes and finds his drill and bores a hole behind his ear, and that makes him feel a lot better. And he convinces himself that he's not murdering anyone because they're the ones taking the crack.
Yeah, I'm not putting a gun to their head.
I'm just putting the crack pipe in their mouth.
I'm just putting it in their vicinity.
Yes. So he decides to experiment with the super crack by giving it to a guinea pig. And when it gets a whiff of it, it promptly explodes.
I was curious as to why coming on to the guinea pig was part of the experiment.
That was weird. That was $1,000 move there.
Yeah. If you weren't a guinea pig, I'd jump in that cage right now.
I was like, hold on.
God damn, where is this guy?
So,
I am really curious how much of what he's doing is like ad-libbing and how much of it is written, because he's got like a similar thing going on in this and Street Trash, so it kind of seems like it's just him
just
doing it.
I wonder if he's like the Marlon Brando of B movies, where he just comes in and does what the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
and he's just like, it's gonna be fine, trust me.
It'll be fine. White makeup and cheesecloth. It'll make sense in the end. So later, he meets back up with the girls back in town, and he's dressed up like a doctor and meets up with them upstairs. And
like a cartoon doctor.
Yeah, he's got the big reflector thing on his head. And
what is that thing called? Because my whole life I've always called it the Metal Man strap on top of his head.
It's just, I think it goes over the eye because there's a little hole in it and you look through it.
Yeah, but what's it called? I know what they do with it.
What's it do?
They look through it.
It reflects light. No, it reflects light.
No, they look through it.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
All right, everybody stop everything. We got to look this up now. It's a head mirror. And shit, yeah, they look through it, John. The head mirror is a simple diagnostic device worn by physicians, but less so in recent decades have they become obsolete. Mostly used for examination of the ear, nose, and throat. It comprises of a circular concave mirror with a small hole in the middle, and it's attached to the headband. The mirror is worn over the physician's eye of choice, with the concave mirror surface facing outwardly toward the hole directly over the physician's eye, providing illumination like a ring of light. They look through it.
Yeah. Cue the cucaracha music. Bring the podcast back on. John's wrong.
Holy fucking shit. I can't find a single picture of a doctor using it that way, except for this old-ass, illustration from like, the 30s or whatever. That's how
old they are. It was stupid to be wearing one of those in this movie. They were so outdated. I told you they looked through them.
Yeah.
All right, you fucking win.
So,
anyway, back to this.
I like how, he could be wrong about a piece of medical equipment that is no longer used. Like, in our lifetime, it wasn't being used. And he's wrong about it, but, we're so, angry. And, you're goddamn right. You son of a bitch, how dare you be wrong about this?
I'm sick of learning new stuff. I thought I knew this. I don't need more stuff.
Okay, so he's dressed up as a doctor with a reflector mirror that he uses to look through. And they start the game or whatever. I guess he's just dropping this whole sick brother thing.
Yeah, that went out the window.
That's out the window. Because now all he's doing is we get this montage of him measuring the girls' limbs, inspecting their nipples, making sure they don't have any gout on their feet. He puts a big Sharpie check mark on one of them's ass cheek saying, "This ass checks out."
This is frankly the best part of the movie. shit is hilarious. Like, everything about this is funny. Like, he's measuring the diameter of a leg, and he's like, 18.
Ooh, that's perfect.
That's some sort of ideal that I'm unaware of. There's a nipple. It's like a full-frame nipple already, and then a magnifying glass gets raised into the frame.
And then he rings it like a doorbell.
I'm about to say.
To check its pliability.
He says completely deadpan, awesome. Utterly awesome. Nice buoyancy, too.
Utterly awesome.
Utterly awesome. And then the butt, again, full frame butt. And then a hand comes in with a marker and puts a check on it, and there's even the little ding sound.
They knew exactly what they were doing, making this scene.
100%. It was
This
hilarious.
was going to be full-on comedy. So, Zorro shows up downstairs, and he's talking with the little troll man that's minding the front door, and he tells him that he's just waiting for his girls to come down. So back upstairs, the girls are getting impatient and saying that, Zorro said you'd have 30 minutes with us, but then you got to pick which one of us because we all can't stay up here. And so he feels like, I can't go through with this, you know what I'm about to do. I can't go through with it. I just can't. And so they start screaming for the money. So he's, here, take the money. He throws the bag with the money to him, forgetting that there's a giant bag of super crack in it as well. They start taking out the money and then see the bag of crack and freak the fuck out.
The first thing,
These girls love crack.
I didn't think there was anything that rivaled dick madness, but super crack madness.
Super crack madness? My God.
Yeah, the crack madness.
The alpha hooker pulls it out and just screams.
She pulled that bag out of there, and it was like a freaking ISIS soldier, like holding a trophy.
Good
Just
God.
way too excited about this.
So, he tries to get the bag from them because he wants to protect them from it. But they overpower him and pin him down, and they're
just like sitting on them smoking super crack.
They all start smoking the super crack, and then everything goes crazy here. This is what I'm sure John thinks women do when they get together and party.
Oh, it's not?
They just all
pause the podcast. Let's look into this.
Cue the cucaracha music.
They all just start ripping their clothes off and making out with each other, and it's just chaos. So Jeffrey's begging them to stop. Please don't do this. You don't know what you're doing. And this is so crazy. Downstairs, Zorro is getting impatient, and he's going to go upstairs to get his hose. On his way up, the girls start feeling a little strange when one of them starts grabbing her stomach. And then she just blows the fuck up. Sparks, fire, everything. So they all start screaming and running around. And then they all start exploding. And there's legs and limbs flying everywhere. And it's fantastic.
It is.
Now, it's not the best looking blowing up people. Like Street Trash did it way better. But it's like they turn into a mannequin really quick. And then they blow up, and you see like the hard plastic mannequin splintering away. It was still hilarious.
But to their credit, like, the Last Shark used a mannequin too.
Yeah,
but it was terrible. At least these mannequins were in the same pose as the person right before the shot cuts.
This wasn't
there was a couple of pretty good cut edits there.
This wasn't a plank of wood with a leisure suit on it.
No.
Again, I sort of would have preferred something gorier, like less fire and sparks and more blood. But what are you gonna do? I'm guessing that it had to do with like he wanted to keep it light.
We need to hang on to that PG rating.
Yeah. It basically
it
reminded me of
comedy people.
It reminded me when Austin Powers was taking out all the fembots. just by like winking at them and stuff, and they just started sparking and blowing. Like that's what it was.
Yeah.
There was no blood.
So Zorro finds the room and starts banging on the door. He
Open up the door, bitches.
He breaks the door down just as the last girl explodes, and her head flies through the air and knocks him on the head, and it makes a fucking cartoon coconut sound, and it's great.
Hilarious.
Bonk! It knocks him out. So Jeffrey gets up, and he starts apologizing to the room full of body parts.
I want to apologize to everyone here.
He says, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to put all of you back together. I'm going to get to all of you. So he gathers...
What a great scene.
He gathers up all the chunks in a garbage bag and tosses them down the fire escape. He drives home.
Hey, you guys remember that part from Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley's genre-defining novel Frankenstein? Or The Modern Prometheus, where obsessive and brilliant scientist Victor Frankenstein accidentally explodes a herd of harlots with a dose of ultra opium.
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good scene.
Oh my god.
Nicely recreated here.
So he drives home with a trunk that's just overflowing with limbs.
I like how he had the garbage bags in there, but he had ropes holding the trunk closed, and like in between the bag and a rope is just a handstand.
Yeah.
This world is like completely devoid of police. Yeah. Like, he's never in any danger with the law.
No.
So he gets home. He starts putting all the parts back together as the storm draws closer. He's like finding the best bits of everything, the best legs. He rifles through a plate of tits to find the perfect pair.
I did like how he was holding two of them and he's about to choose them, but then he swapped them because he realized they were like left and right was wrong. I thought that was funny.
So he finds the perfect feet, but they got bunions on them, so he's got to sand those down real quick. And he's down to the last detail, and he goes and gets Elizabeth's head out the freezer. He throws all the scrap pieces back in the freezer, and he assures them, I'll get to you later. Don't worry, I'm going to put yous all back together. He picks up Elizabeth's head and talks to her about, it's the right thing to do, and I'm never going to let anything happen to you again. And he immediately drops the head and plays it up for a yuck. The storm rolls in and lightning striking all over the house. So he pulls all the apparatus out of his creation and starts pulling on the chains to open up the ceiling, as most sheds do, exposing the examination table to the storm. He powers up some machines. Oops, excuse me. And the turbine starts going. He hooks an antenna up to the table, and he flips a switch, and the whole rig raises up, and it goes impossibly high.
It's just unnecessarily high.
It's this cartoon pole, like out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon, that just keeps coming. I don't know where it's coming from, but it goes up into the stratosphere.
Like, for it to be a good lightning rod, it just has to be the highest point in that vicinity, you know?
Yeah.
But he made sure of that by at least 80 feet.
Yeah. So it goes up, lightning strikes it, and the Ghostbusters effects go nuts.
Yeah.
The lightning courses down into the lab, and it strikes the freezer. Make a note of that, ladies and gentlemen. Jeffrey's knocked to the ground by all the explosions. He gets up and lowers the table back down, the body now standing completely upright. He pulls the sheet off to find the Frankenhooker, finally. Want a date? Want a date? Got any money? To which he says, no. So she karate chops him unconscious. So now she's this super hooker that's laser focused on hooking.
Yeah.
That's her mission, and that's all she's going to do.
All she wants to do. I don't understand how the hooker parts took over the brain.
Yeah.
I mean,
Heather was saying that too. Like, she still has her brain, right? Shouldn't it just be like the body trying to go out and hook, and she's like, "What's going on?"
No, every part has a brain, and she's more hooker than non-hooker now. So her like arm brain is like
overridden.
Yo, let's hook. And
I was just wondering why she was standing up on the table when they lowered it again. Yeah. Like it kind of took away from the suspense whether it worked or not. Like she's lowered down and then she's standing up with a sheet on her head. Well, I guess it worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
So she stomps out of the shed and stumbles down the street. Meanwhile, the freezer full of parts starts to shake and moan and scream. Back to Frankenhooker, she finds her way onto the subway somehow and goes and stands in front of some kid that gets all hot and bothered looking at her. Jeffrey comes to and starts looking for Elizabeth, and he realizes that she's after the money, and he gets in his car and drives off. So Frankenhooker assaults several men and some Japanese tourists before finally
they don't have any money, I guess.
Before she settles on some toad person and drags him back to the
poor man's Danny DeVito.
Yeah. Drags him back to the whorehouse where all the exploding happened. So she takes him upstairs and shoves him onto the bed. And she starts repeating all the lines that the other various girls had. It's just all the parts speaking through her. And the man starts to undress as she takes her top off to reveal that she has purple nipples. This little touch we had to throw in there.
There's no sutures around those things.
Yeah.
Also, it was only then when this guy was like perplexed as to what she was.
Yeah.
Like, mind you, she has like different colored arms and she's walking all crazy because, she's a Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
Her head's going nuts. She isn't making any sense when she talks. But then when she takes her shirt off, he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, those purple nipples. Those purple nips get an eyebrow raise.
Yeah.
So she takes the rest of her clothes off. She waddles over to him and jumps on top of him.
And she still had the check on her ass cheek.
Thank you. Yes. That's the
they
best
made
part
sure
of
to frame that up.
Get that check mark on the butt cheek in there.
That he used the ass that he checked off.
I would be disappointed if it didn't have the check.
Yeah. I also would.
Because that just means that he wasn't even going with his own rating scale at that point.
Yeah, he's questioning himself. He's going against his gut.
Yeah.
So she climbs up on him and starts riding him, and he starts to smoke, and lightning's crackling all over his body, and he eventually explodes in the same manner as the girls, except she lifts up his severed head as it mutters, "Oh, that was wonderful."
So this is where my confusion started. Is she okay? Does the lightning cooch come from the crack left over in the part system?
She's infused with super crack.
Okay. Is that what it is?
I assume.
Then where's the lightning coming from?
The lightning that brought her to life.
Yeah, well, she's just full of electricity. I think it's the electricity that's blowing people up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So crack. It's not the crack.
Either or.
I don't think it's the crack.
Does it matter?
It doesn't super matter.
So,
but I'd like to point out that, in the side-by-side comparison of this to the original Frankenstein movie from 34 or whatever, this Danny DeVito motherfucker is the little girl that the creature throws into the water.
Wow. So
it works. It works.
First kill.
Yeah. Jeffrey arrives in the city, and he's asking everyone if he's seen Elizabeth. He starts rambling at some Swedish guy too in a Batman shirt.
He asks him if he's seen this girl, and he starts talking to him, in another language. He's like, "What are you, some kind of Swede?
Some kind of Swede? I'm talking to a Swede in Times Square. What? Well, the times I'm living in."
I don't know why he's so off-put by there being a Swede.
Yeah. So the Frankenhooker gets the cash from the dead man's wallet and shuffles out. As she's walking down the hall, some greaseball starts harassing her.
I'm sorry, hold on. What if it's a Swedish stereotype that they sit around and listen to your to your questions, but they don't know what you're saying, but they act like they do anyway, and that's just like what Swedes do. So when it happened to him, he's like, "Oh fuck, fucking Swede got me again."
They just like to waste your time.
Yeah, it's like the Russian luggage.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a Russian having no luggage.
Yeah, Swedes pretend they can understand you.
Well, we solved that one. He was Russian. That's why he had no luggage. He was Russian.
Jesus.
I had a similar experience when I went to Japan. We were trying
with
to
a Swede?
Not a Swede. It was with an old Japanese lady, but she didn't. We were trying to get to this particular shrine, and she just kept trying to tell us how to get there in Japanese, and then she got really frustrated because we didn't understand her, and she started writing it down in fucking Japanese.
I thought it was going to be, you're in Japan, you don't know where you're going, so you're looking around for someone that might speak English. You see another, tall white man and start explaining to him, and it turns out he's Swedish.
What are you, some kind of Swede?
Oh, shit. As you're explaining to him the shrine you want to go through, he slowly starts putting a chef hat on his head. Goddamn Swedes got me again.
You realize his head's made of felt, but he has people hands. So, some greaseball.
Goddamn Swedish chef got me again.
Some Swedish hidden camera show where it's the Swedish chef pulling pranks on people.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Why do you think he was wearing such a prominently displayed Batman shirt?
What the Swedes do. That's how they lure you in.
It's to throw you off.
He's like, there's a Batman shirt. He must be American.
Yeah, exactly. It says, "I love America and am definitely an American."
The only way it could have been better is if it was the Batman symbol, but there was an American flag,
right?
Like they do with the Punisher symbol or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so she's shuffling down the hall. Some greaseball starts harassing her and says that, "I'm going to stick my tongue down your throat," and kisses her, and his face lights up with lightning, and his head flies out the window and into a trash can.
And everyone outside's just going about their business.
Yep, it's Tuesday, all right.
They're like, "God damn, raining heads again."
It's raining heads. There's Swedes up and down the block.
New York is crazy.
Jeffrey asks some of the other hookers if they've seen Elizabeth, and he says that she had the Zorro brand on her arm. She says, "No, that's all Zorro girls. They're all dead." And then some other pimp comes up and starts harassing him about you. What do you know? What do you know about all of that? And so he gets in his car and says, "I'm a doctor. I gotta go to my emergency room. Bye."
I don't know why a pimp that's in competition with Zorro would be so concerned.
Yeah, I don't know. Solidarity amongst pimps? Is that a thing?
I mean, I don't think there's a union.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
So
maybe they're not. Maybe they're not in competition. Maybe they got turfs or something.
I don't know. He just seemed very concerned, and I was like, "Well, dude, you just the demand for your hookers just went up. You should be happy."
Maybe he's like a sub pimp under Zorro.
It's like a pyramid scheme.
Maybe he's got principles. You ever consider that? Murder is murder. He doesn't care if it impacts his business positively.
You're not going to deal directly with the whores. Just you have the license to distribute the whores.
Yeah. So Frankenhooker is still patrolling the streets looking for money. She goes into the club where Zorro is drowning his sorrows. She spots some pretzels, and it's the best thing in the world to her, these pretzels. And she starts eating them, and the bartender says, "Yo, you might want to slow down on those, honey," to which she growls at her like Pee Wee Herman.
That's to give you the hint that Elizabeth's still in there somewhere, because she loved pretzels in the beginning.
So I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that either. I just thought
I thought it was just who's eating pretzels off of a bar.
Well, because her mom was saying like, don't eat too many pretzels because you're too fat. Essentially,
I didn't catch that. Oops.
It's a good movie. Man. Setups and payoffs.
So Zorro's little toady friend starts putting the moves on the Frankenhooker and takes her away. Zorro stares on, intrigued by her. And the guy takes her over to a table and sits her down, and he's talking to her, and he crawls underneath the table, and where he starts smoking and electrifying again, and explodes in a gigantic fireball. And Zorro would recognize that explosion anywhere. And then a drag queen screams in terror.
Like, huh?
When the drag queen started screaming, that's where I lost my shit. Like, that was hilarious to me. Because when you think in drag queen, like, this wasn't like a made-up drag queen. Like, she didn't have makeup or anything. It was just a dude in a dress.
Yeah.
A dude in a dress with a wig, 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah. And he lost his mind.
This is like a high-pitched scream.
And so, like, everybody's panicking. Like, he starts screaming, everybody panics, and they're running out of the bar. But in the background, you can still hear him screaming, even though he's not on camera. And that made it for me. That's where I was like, this movie is great.
So this next part is the part that I thought was hilarious. Jeffrey pulls up, and there's some old crackpot standing on the corner. He's got the billboard around his body. It says, Babylon is here. And he's preaching about the horror of Babylon and all the evil that she brings with her. And Jeffrey's listening to him as he goes through this whole spiel. And when he's done, Jeffrey goes, so you've seen her? And he goes, she's in the bar. Legitimately hilarious. I love that part. So Zorro recognizes his mark on the arm of Frankenhooker and starts harassing her, and he punches her in the face, causing her head to flop backwards, spraying proton-packed beams out of her neck stump all over the place. It slowly dies down, and Jeffrey runs up and fixes her head, and he walks her out as all the patrons spill out onto the street. Zorro follows and hails a cab. Back home, Jeffrey's repairing Elizabeth's neck sutures, and he tells her that he didn't want any of this to turn out this way, and he plugs her in, tries to power her up, but it doesn't appear to happen. And he says, I know you're not a hooker. I know you're not. To which she responds, I know I'm not a hooker. Why would you say that, Jeffrey? And she's back. So she thinks it's right after the lawnmower incident, and he explains what happened to her. And she says that, this is great. You've figured out how to bring people back to life. We have to share this with the world. And he says, no, but I can't really because my serum is estrogen-based, and I can only bring women back. When did we establish that?
Just now.
She realizes that all of her parts aren't hers. And he starts going, what are you going to do? There wasn't that much of you there, so I had to go and, pick out my favorite parts and kind of make you how I wanted to make you.
I love you so much, I had a hooker party and picked out parts for you.
He then declares his love for her when Zorro slips in and just lops his head off with a machete. Holy shit.
Crazy.
I wasn't expecting that.
No. So Zorro grabs Elizabeth and he says that I'm taking you back because you're mostly my property. And he pulls out a bag of crack and says, this is going to get your mind back right. And just the whiff of crack in the air causes the freezer to start shaking and rattling. And he turns around and looks, and it topples over, and a fucking horror show comes crawling out as these creatures that make the thing look tame start piling. And it's mostly tits.
I expected the hooker's body parts to come to life. They set that up.
Yeah.
What I did not expect It's for them to combine into like a horrifying masses of arms and feet and mouths.
The worst one is an upside down woman's torso where the tits are like the little walking feet and where the crotch would be is a mouth.
Yeah.
And it was horrifying.
So awful.
I was pretty disturbed watching this part.
Yeah. It was, so they all start crawling out and writhing up to Zorro. They grab him and they drag him screaming back into the freezer. And then one of the pieces pulls the Indiana Jones and it slips the door open and grabs the crack real quick and slips it back in.
You know, remember we talked, I think it was the movie with the gym where people are dying in the gym. I said every once in a while you see a death on film and you really boy, that'd be horrible. Like I felt like whenever they showed like that the inside shot from the freezer and all the body parts are like all over the guy.
Yeah.
Like I was just, man, that's horrible.
Yeah.
It'd be
who knows what's happening to him?
I can't even imagine what's going on there.
So Elizabeth picks up Jeffrey's head and she says that she's got an idea. And later, Jeffrey wakes up and Elizabeth's there and she's got her reflector that she looks through on her head. And she's explaining that,
just gotta twist that dagger a little bit more.
She says, you're awake, you're back, and you took very good notes, so I was able to use them, and I got you back to life. But as you said, it only works on female parts, so I kind of had to, And then Jeffrey looks down to realize that his head's been sewed onto a woman's body. And so he says, "Oh my God, look at these boobs. Oh, what did you do with my Johnson? Ah!" And so she's just happy that they're together again. And Jeffrey freaks out and screams into the camera. And then the credits roll. Amazing.
It's actually a pretty good movie.
What a movie.
It was a surprise.
It was.
It was definitely a surprise. Oh, she's in the bar.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. It's my new front runner for Desert Heat nomination for sure.
Huh.
Well, after Iron Eagle,
definitely not getting it for Iron Eagle. I'll tell you that.
I can tell it's not getting any support. It's like the John Hickenlooper of my
what
my picks, but
the what?
I think he just dropped out actually, but a really low rated Democratic nominee or running for president.
Oh,
anyway, bad joke.
I thought it was like some obscure director that I'm supposed to know about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is it. I'm putting this up.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
Barring anything crazy,
it has zero competition. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from there, we gotta do the quiz.
Yep, and I think we talked about a lot of the stuff, so I may have enough questions, and y'all may just have a freebie somewhere in there.
We'll just have to see what happens. As we all know, we're tied up across the board, so we're starting over. All right. How many girls were at the party when they were all getting examined by the thing that you look through? Question 2. What was the brand of the freezer that stored the body parts? Ooh. Question 3. Of all the advertisements that were in the Times Square scene, there was only one fast food restaurant. Which one was it? Question 4. What side effect would the voltage cause to the legs? And question 5.
It's going to be a free because we talked about it. What soft drink was served at the birthday party?
Free point. I'll take it.
Yep. All right. So, question 1. How many girls were at the party?
I got 8.
I'm going to say 7.
It was 9.
Shit.
Oh, I wasn't counting. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, the alpha one?
The lead girl,
That's why I used that question.
Shit.
What was the brand of the freezer?
I'm gonna say
Maytag.
I'm gonna say Polar because that's cold.
It was Gibson.
No, I get that.
Okay. What fast food place was advertised in Times Square?
I'm gonna go obvious and say McDonald's.
I also put McDonald's.
It was Wendy's.
Shit.
What side effect would the voltage cause to the legs?
Spider veins.
Varicose veins?
Yes. He actually said both of those things, so either one is acceptable. And what soft drink was served at the party? It was Pepsi. Y'all got 2 points each.
So me and John are still tied up.
Jeez.
God damn it, I know how this is gonna end.
Yeah.
It's gonna end really stupid.
It's gonna be another one of those ones where it's like, this whole round and round we go, who's winning, who's losing, like...
Yeah. To the bitter end, it's gonna be anyone's game.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
That's all right, keep up the tension for the audience. I'm sure they're riveted.
I'm sure this is the best part of the podcast to them.
Yes. They're staring at their radios in silence like a Swede.
All right.
Some kind of
somebody needs to get to work on a comic strip of a guy sitting in a psychiatrist's office, sitting on the couch, just explaining things, and slowly the psychiatrist puts on a chef's hat.
I've been coming here for 3 years. He didn't understand a single word I said.
The international symbol for revealing to someone you're Swedish is putting on a chef's hat.
It is now.
Hear that, Sweden?
All right. So, moving on to coming attractions. Everybody shut the fuck up. I'm going to do it anyway just for the laughs. We all know what's happening tonight.
He may have changed his mind because
just let me get through it, all right?
All right, go ahead.
I think he screwed himself, though, because the dumbass waited till the last possible second to use it, so there's no surprise factor anymore.
Yeah, especially if he doesn't use it tonight.
There's no winning for me, man. Use it too early, use it too late.
Either way, we'd ridicule you for whatever you did.
Essentially.
So, the movie we're going to not watch next is a little family classic from 1995 called To Catch a Yeti.
Ooh.
Rated PG, and it's an hour and 35 minutes.
Oh.
Starring Meatloaf.
Ooh.
A hunter known as Big Jake, Meatloaf, is hired to catch the fabled Yeti, which is loose in the streets of the Big Apple. But after encountering the mythic beast, Jake discovers that the Yeti is a furry, cuddly creature. So when he's forced to hand the Yeti over to a spoiled scion of a millionaire New Yorker, Jake teams up with a little girl to prevent the Yeti from falling into wicked hands. It's rated 1.9 stars on IMDb. A surprising 3.5 on Amazon. It was directed by, get ready for this, John, Bob Keane, who directed Candyman, Hellraiser, Krull, Highlander.
You get the fuck out of my face.
Reviews, horrendous. Like slowly being dipped in feces.
Jesus.
Candyman is like legitimately a great film.
Yeah.
I just can't stop thinking about it. I think I heard that, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I heard that, who's the dude that wrote it? Clive Barker took over for, like, directing on Hellraiser at some point. Anyway.
Last review, a crappy and sappy piece of kitty pick schlock. So, there you go.
What pisses me off most about this whole thing is a Yeti wouldn't be in New York.
Well, it comes back
It's
with some
warm.
guy from a trip.
Like a Yeti lives in Siberia where it's cold.
Yeah, it stows away in a guy's backpack and is brought back to New York.
Oh God, is it tiny?
It's basically a cross between a Mogwai and Alf.
So is it a baby or is it just like they fucked up measurements when they were looking?
I don't know.
Yetis?
It's only about 3 feet tall, and it's got long arms, and it looks like a Mogwai in the face, and Meatloaf hunts it.
Huh.
So there you go.
Oh, man.
Play the frickin' music.
I mean, it sounds so good though.
It does.
Hold on. You guys hear that?
Uh-oh. What could it be?
Godfrey Ho.
Godfrey! Oh!
Godfrey Ho is on the move. Godfrey Ho is loose. Feel the magic, hear the roar. Godfrey Ho is loose. Godfrey Ho.
God damn it.
Godfrey
I was happy that you were going to use it against Chase, but then I forgot that it was a Godfrey Ho fucking movie.
You're goddamn right it is.
Godfrey Ho.
Son of a bitch.
Jesus Christ.
Ah, man. My favorite part about that is me sitting alone in my house singing Feel the Magic, Hear the Roar, Godfrey Ho is loose.
Oh yeah, when I recorded the Sword of Van Damocles one, I was standing in my closet screaming, "I have the power," like an idiot.
The things we do.
All right, what's it gonna be?
We're gonna watch a little Godfrey Ho film
No.
from the year 1984 called Scorpion Thunderbolt.
Son of a bitch. Okay, I'm gonna stop you real quick and interject this.
Oh no.
One of my plans was to randomly pick a Godfrey Ho movie and hope it was the one you were gonna use, and that was the one I was gonna pick.
That would have been
I had
hilarious.
two. I had two. I had both barrels loaded.
God damn it. Okay, continue.
But this one sounds legit amazing. 3.5 on Amazon, 4.2 on IMDb, 82 minutes. Starring Richard Harrison as if it could be
Of course.
Right.
Richard Harrison, as we've seen him before, in these exact shots, as we've seen him before.
Synopsis. It is present-day Hong Kong, and a beautiful young journalist is desperately trying to hide the dreadful secret that she is really a snake monster that embarks on brutal killing sprees. Born with this curse and set out into the city to murder by an evil, clawed, cackling witch, the reporter is transformed against her will by a sinister blind man with his mysterious flute playing.
Jesus Christ.
So there's not a whole lot in the way of info here. It's Godfrey Ho. You know the deal. It was cut together from a Taiwanese film called Grudge of the Sleepwalking Woman.
Okay.
In Germany, it's known as Das Schlangenmonster.
Oh my God, that's gonna be my new gamer tag.
Yeah, it should be, dude.
Das
It's a great
Schlangen
one.
Monster.
Das Schlangenmonster.
Oh my God.
Some reviews. There's actually a few here. Seriously, one of the most insane films I've ever seen. The cinematic equivalent of LSD. Gloriously ludicrous trash. Really, the worst film ever. No, Really. And finally, trust me, I've been in enough sleazy video stores, pored over myriad Z-grade schlockers to be able to qualify this as the most inept waste of celluloid I've ever seen. And yet it achieves greatness in a way only the most bereft of talent can. A deliriously incompetent mishmash of bungling kung fu action, tomato ketchup horror, and side-splitting soft porn. Only the most insane need apply. So
I hope in a couple weeks we're not sitting around saying, man, it would have been fun to watch Meatloaf chase around a puppet Yeti.
It may be. You can bring it back next season if you want.
I didn't want to watch this shit. Were you kidding me?
I'm all about this Schlangen monster right now.
You didn't want to watch a Yeti in a backpack?
No. My other strategy was to pick something so stupid that maybe John would pull the old switcheroo and say, "Ha, I'm going to punish you by making us actually watch this thing." Mm-hmm. I had all like that meme of Charlie from Sunny with all the he's mapping out all the conspiracy on the wall. That was me trying to figure out how to make John not do this tonight.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had to be you. It had to be you.
I scoured the internet trying to find a copy of Fateful Findings somewhere without having to pay for it.
That, honestly, you could have done it. If you'd have found that, that would have been it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been
I was
able
praying it would show back up on Amazon tonight.
That would be awesome. Just like at the 0 hour, the governor called and said, "Fateful finding."
Damn it.
It's all right. Yeah. It's going to be a good time.
No, I didn't actually look at what this movie was about. I just saw the title and said, "Yeah, that's the one." So I'm glad my instincts were correct.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a little departure from like Ninja Godfrey Ho. It's kind of like a horror Godfrey Ho stuff. So really curious.
Could be good. I'll tell you, in my search for the stupidest movie possible, I found some potential winners that unfortunately aren't available anywhere, even YouTube.
Wow.
Ghost Baby, starring Joe Estevez.
Starring a real ghost baby?
Yeah. And what was the other one? Roller Raptor, which is about a miniature purple rapping skateboarding velociraptor.
Holy shit. When is that from?
The 80s.
Very nice.
But yeah, couldn't find him anywhere, unfortunately.
That is sad.
There was a movie called Nuki about a little alien that this movie looked so bad that they actually ripped off the poster of Mac and Me for the poster for this movie.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man. So it's I watch a lot of Red Letter Media, and one of the jokes that I guess their viewers play on them is constantly sending them copies of Nuki. They have like 100, like hundreds of copies of Nuki on VHS.
It looked pretty bad, from what I saw.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Maybe one day when we're famous, someone will send us unwanted copies of To Catch a Yeti.
Maybe. And we'll have to watch
We're
it.
just going to get chef hats sent to us.
It'll happen one day, gentlemen, when somebody finally gives us the recognition we deserve.
But today is not that day.
Oh my god. All right.
And if any Swedes want to come on and explain what the hell is wrong with you guys.
All right, we've chased away the Swedes, the vampires.
Good God.
No, you guys seem all right.
Yeah.
The Swedes.
Yeah. Still, if you're a vampire, though, no.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
Oh my god. All right. So I'd like to thank everybody that's been listening. If you can, drop us a review on iTunes. We would very much appreciate that. You can find us online at facebook.com/garbage theater, on Instagram at garbage_theater. If you have a movie pick that you'd like to send to us, send it to us. We'll watch it. Send it to us on any of our social channels, or you can email us directly at garbagetheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Yay. Yeah. So what's the name of this thing?
Scorpion Thunderbolt.
Scorpion Thunderbolt.
Das Schlangenmonster.
The Schlangenmonster is what we're...
Das Schlangenmonster.
It's what we're being forced to... We're getting a Schlangenmonster forced down our throats next week, folks. God damn it. I knew it was going to happen, and I'm still mad.
Like I said, I was cheering for it to happen, and then when the song started, I was like, fuck, it's a Godfrey Ho movie. Like, I just totally forgot about that part of it.
Yeah, you forgot that he decided that we're not going to watch some TNA movie because he threw the Erotonomicon in the trash.
Yeah.
We handed him a hilarious weapon. Exactly. And he refused.
Sounds like there's still going to be some TNA in here.
He refused to embrace who he is. So.
I know I'm not on Thor's arc from Endgame. All right, I'm not becoming the person that I am. I'm still trying to be that person I'm supposed to be. Chase.
Well, you don't get to be a guardian of the galaxy then.
The Godfrey Ho, the Godfrey Ho watching kind of dude.
All right, so we'll see you next time when we watch Tarantula Laser Strike. So Scorpion Thunderbolt. We'll see you then, folks.
Don't confuse them, Chase.
It's Scorpion Thunderbolt. We'll see you. There very well may be a Godfrey Ho movie called Tarantula Laser Blast. It's possible.
That's what I'm talking about.
Scorpion Thunderstrike. We'll see you next time, folks.